Welcome to 10 minutes of current events with no commercials. This is CNN Student News. I'm Carl Azus. Thank you for watching. First up, President Obama made a promise yesterday to U.S. troops. He says he won't get them involved in another ground war in Iraq. Several hundred American servicemen and women are in the region. Their missions include launching airstrikes against the ISIS terrorist group, gathering intelligence about ISIS, and training and helping Iraqi forces fight ISIS. The Obama administration says U.S. troops themselves will not be going into combat. But the nation's highest-ranking military advisor says if he thinks U.S. troops should get involved, he'd recommend it to the president. While some lawmakers have questions about the roles of U.S. troops in Iraq, there's another issue to be considered as the U.S. leads the way in fighting ISIS: money.
The bill for military operations in Iraq keeps rising. On August 29th, the Pentagon said the mission is costing the United States $7.5 million a day, a relatively tiny sum compared to the billions spent in Iraq during our last campaign in the country. But what started as an effort to protect American interests in Iraq from Sunni militants is now morphing into something much bigger. The U.S. has completed over 150 airstrikes that started in August, and since the Pentagon released the daily average spending figure, President Obama authorized additional military personnel twice. He also opened up the possibility of airstrikes outside of Iraq.
We will hunt down terrorists who threaten our country wherever they are. That means I will not hesitate to take action against ISIL in Syria as well as Iraq.
On top of that, the president is hoping Congress will authorize a $500 million request he made in June for training and equipping the rebels in Syria to fight ISIS. Currently, the U.S. is financing its involvement in Iraq through an $85 billion allocation in the Pentagon's Overseas Contingency Operations account. That money had been financing troop drawdown in Afghanistan and other activities in the region. And the president says he does not need extra authorization from Congress. To be sure, the scope and strategy of U.S. involvement in Iraq today is very different than during Operation Iraqi Freedom from 2003 to 2011. For one, at its peak, there were more than 150,000 troops on the ground that needed housing, logistical support, and supplies. An estimated price tag for that war by the Congressional Research Service is $806 billion. Now, that doesn't include interest on the debt to fund the war, or billions more for continued veterans care. It's important to remember, it wasn't expected to cost that much. In October 2003, 6 months after operations began, the CBO estimated Iraq would cost $85 to $200 billion through 2013. Estimates that were way off. With Obama's latest announcement, the U.S. military will have approximately 1,500 personnel in Iraq. Now, more people means more money, so we'll have to see how high the figures go from here. Christina Alessi, CNN Money, New York.
Time for the roll call. All three of these schools requested a mention on yesterday's transcript at cnnstudentnews.com. James M. Bennett High School is present in Salisbury, Maryland. The Clippers send the competition sailing. Jumping south to Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and sending a shout out to all of the Raiders at St. Thomas Aquinas High School. And in the South Dakota city of Bonesteel, it's great to see the Cougars of South Central Middle School. There are a few different definitions for computer hacker. One is someone who's really skilled in computer programming. One is someone who tries to break into protected systems. And then there are ethical hackers. These are people who aren't intending to steal information like credit card numbers. They're employed to hack into systems to show a company or government where its networks are vulnerable, how they can be broken into. Ethical hackers can make over $100,000 a year while keeping criminals from stealing a dime.
You might think that the government takes your information, your personal data, very, very seriously and safeguards it. But if you think that, you're wrong. We have been talking to two ethical hackers who have found major security vulnerabilities in 50 universities, more than 100 schools, and more than 20 government agencies, hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of incredibly sensitive files. So how did this happen? In 2012, Oracle told its customers, we have this vulnerability, use this security patch. And these government agencies and schools and universities did not apply it. So this big security hole exists there, and now bad guys can access it too. What kind of information are we talking about? Really, it's the most sensitive information that anyone who traffics in identity theft might be very eager to get their hands on. Dates of birth, social security numbers, addresses, parents' information, court documents in some cases, grades, transcripts, medical information. For students, you can see where exactly the bus routes are to pick up and drop off the kid. It's really the kind of information you don't want anyone to know. So what can be done about it? Already these ethical hackers working with the FBI have alerted 3 of these schools and government agencies as to what happened, and they have fixed the patch. Although I have to say, one of them was a major port authority, and for months, the names of Defense Intelligence Agency agents and diplomats and State Department employees, all their information was sitting there on this port server for anyone to get, although now it is closed.
Next time you get a mosquito bite, you'd be perfectly correct in saying, "She got me." Why she? Because only female mosquitoes bite. The males eat flower nectar. Now that's random. Sustainability is a word you hear discussed a lot. It's defined as something like a building, for example, that doesn't harm the environment or use up too many natural resources. But while going green is intended to be good for natural surroundings, it comes at an additional cost.
We're producing more waste and using more energy than ever before. And it's actually buildings that are in large part to blame. They use 70% of the nation's electricity and are responsible for 40% of carbon dioxide emissions. But here in Seattle, one building is trying to change that by pushing the envelope with green technology. This is the Bullitt Center, the greenest commercial building in the world.
When people do bold things in buildings, they try to do one thing bold. They cover the roof with solar. They have something that's collecting rainwater. They use really interesting building materials. We jumped in and did it all.
The 6-story Bullitt Center combines all of these green technologies to achieve net zero energy and water use, receiving countless awards as a result. And now they're pursuing the most rigorous performance standard in sustainable construction, Living Building certification.
A living building is sort of like an organism. It automatically tries to rebalance and keep everything well.
To regulate temperature, the building's brain can sense weather conditions and will automatically open and close the windows. When it's bright, the shades come down, even tilting at the appropriate angle. Integrating all these technologies isn't cheap. All in, the price tag to build the world's greenest commercial building was about $30 million.
When you're looking at a balance sheet, it doesn't always make economic sense to create a sustainable green living building.
This building didn't cost a premium. It cost almost 25% more than a standard Class A office building. But it's the first. The first of anything is more expensive.
The building's tenants range from engineering firms to lawyers and contractors.
Everyone here gets excited about the fact that we're having a positive impact on the world around us.
People are becoming very aware of the fact that their employees are more productive when they've got access to fresh air and access to sunlight.
And yet we're standing on a floor that's empty right now.
But we've got a building that is 85% leased 1 year from the opening date. We are the first to have done something that is an essential part of a sustainable human future.
All right, when I was told our last story would be about a siphonophore, I was like, what? The most common one we've heard of, Portuguese man-o'-war. This is not a common one. It's a purple species of siphonophore, an extremely rare one found by marine biologists during a deep sea expedition. It's probably best described as a colony. Some parts of it catch prey, some swim, some digest food. They compose one strange-looking sea creature. But how do you make puns on that story? I mean, talk about bringing a rare animal to the siphonophore forefront, mention its environmental creature comforts, say scientists really had to dig deep to identify it. My producer didn't think I could make any. I was able to siphon off 4. I'm Carl Azus for CNN Student News.